Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emad Omran, and today I'm going to present our paper titled "The Impact of Inflation on the Unemployment Rate in Egypt: a VAR Approach." The co-author is Professor Yuriy Bilan. So here we start with the table of contents. We will start with area of interest, then theoretical overview, then literature overview, research objective and questions, then research methods, then methodology, then results, and finally conclusion and recommendation. So let's start with area of interest. So I am interested in studying the impact of inflation on the unemployment rate and the GDP. So when we move to the theoretical overview, we can see that unemployment and inflation are among the most critical phenomena facing both developed and developing countries. The main objective of the monetary policy in Egypt is to maintain a low inflation rate in the medium run to keep the confidence and a high rate of investment as well as economic growth. At the same time, economists argue that targeting a low rate of inflation may increase unemployment. Here we move to the literature review. So Phillips in 1958 reported a negative relationship between wage inflation and the unemployment rate in Egypt, in the UK, sorry. However, the recent empirical studies showed different results regarding the relationship between inflation and the unemployment in both the short and the long run. Here we see like some studies reported an inverse relationship between inflation and the unemployment rate, while other studies reported a positive relationship between inflation and the unemployment rate in the long run. Here are some examples. Then we move to the research objective and questions. So this paper's main objective is to examine the relationship or the impact of inflation and unemployment rate in Egypt. So the research questions can be formalized as follows. We want to answer two questions. The first question is, what is the impact of inflation on the unemployment rate in Egypt? While the second question is, what is the impact of inflation on the gross domestic product GDP in Egypt? Here we move to the research method. As you see, the research design, so we use the quantitative approach, and we use secondary data for the annual secondary data for the period from 1990 to 2019. This data was collected from the Central Bank of Egypt and the World Bank databases. And we used the eViews software to run the VAR model and to get the impulse response function result. So the methodology, so we applied a 3 variables vector autoregressive VAR model with the impulse response function IRF. Here are the results of the impulse response function. As you see in this figure, in the first panel, we see that GDP respond positively to a 1 standard deviation shock to inflation. When we move to the second panel, we see that unemployment rate respond negatively to a 1 standard deviation shock to inflation. And finally, in the third panel, we see that inflation respond positively to a 1 standard deviation shock to itself. So the conclusion of this study is, so the results show a positive relationship between inflation and GDP, while there is a negative relationship between inflation and the unemployment rate. So these results are consistent with the result of Phillips in 1958. Here we move to the recommendation. So the main recommendation of this study to policymakers in Egypt is that they need to implement their monetary policy considering the unemployment pressure in the short run. And here is the list of references that we used in our paper. Thank you very much for your attention.